Hello and welcome to Dice Masters United. I'm Spug.
I'm Ben.
I'm James.
And I'm Peter.
Coming up in this episode.
The latest Two Team Takedown is in the books. We catch up with a winner who spills the beans on his teams and the matches he played.
And with Dice Fight XL just around the corner, we discuss what it means for the meta ahead of the big online gathering.
And Ben's been moonlighting. He'll be talking about what his adventures in another game teach us about Dice Masters.
All that and more in the latest episode of Dice Masters United.
Okay, well, hello everybody. Welcome back. It's good to have you with us. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Dice Masters United. And we're going to be talking Two Team Takedown. Who can tell us what the format is? I know, Peter, you are a veteran Two Team Takedown player.
So for Two Team Takedown, you build two teams, as the name implies, and they can share no cards. And in order to win, you have to win with both of your teams before your opponent wins with both of their teams.
Very good. And it's been run by the good people over at DM North who have, well, they've adapted the format from CR Game Room, who first came up with it. And it's been good to have it back again over the last, what is it, year and a half now or something like that, since it has been resurrected.
Yeah, it's a fabulous format, isn't it? It's a brilliant... I don't know where Chris and Rob got the original idea from.
It is really
good.
Yeah, I really like the idea that you play two different teams. Because it always feels to me as if when you're playing in a tournament, you just play one team. And I don't know, it can get a bit boring just playing the same team all day. So it's kind of cool that you get to play other stuff, and it does mean you get a variety. And often it's the case, isn't it, that there's one kind of good team that people play, and then one maybe bit dodgy team that they have. So they tend
one team has to be not optimized, right? Because you can't have all the best globals on both teams because you have to mix and match. You have to, so you're taking away a little bit from here and there.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So the latest one has been played. It's a purely online tournament, so we get people, well, generally from North America and Europe, isn't it? I think generally, just because the kind of the time frames. But it gets played over several weeks. You get a chance to play a different person each week. And then this time it was just a Swiss format, wasn't it? With
yeah, well, one of the good things about, I think, generally online tournaments is we do kind of everyone plays every round.
Yeah.
So this was 4 rounds of Swiss, and then actually there was a 5th round. People could play if they wanted to, but that was kind of deciding the championship.
Yeah.
So yeah, mainly everyone got to play every single round, which is the best thing.
Very good. Okay, so only one of us played this time around. We've all been a bit manic otherwise, so we weren't able to take part. But Ben, you did take part. And okay, how did you get on?
Well, I had to get ready for Gen Con, right? So that's the big thing in the future.
Yeah.
So yeah, I decided I had to play in this really. And I did pretty well. I'm back into the groove of winning tournaments, which is something that hadn't happened to me for a while.
Hey, very, very good. So
UKG and now this. So yeah.
Wow. Look at this. It's,
on a roll.
On a roll indeed, if you pardon the pun. And what did you play in your teams?
So I played one very good team.
You had a good team and a bad team. Is that basically?
A terrible team. So I had a master mold team, which was very similar to the one we kind of play tested with Dana, and Dana piloted so well and kind of created. And yeah, I spent hours with him battering me with for pre-worlds last year.
Yeah.
With an exception of I changed out Deacon for Lilandra. The Lilandra does Jindo stuff.
Oh, the one that taxes your opponent's global use, yeah.
And a few more I put. I mean, obviously the big change was obviously Secret Wars in. So I'll get into some of those changes in a bit, I suppose. And then the other team was a 2-path team, I'd say. The one path was Anti-Monitor, Invulnerability combo, and then the other path was kind of the Black Panther combo, as seen on DM United.
So that the Anti-Monitor one, he's the one that when he attacks, you KO stuff, and then your opponent has to KO an equivalent number of
characters. Yeah. So when you attack, you can KO a number of your characters, your opponent has to KO any number of theirs. The good thing with that is, with invulnerability, you can attack with multiple characters, KO them all with Anti-Monitor, and then anything that you've attacked with, obviously, clears something they have, and then everything comes back in the field. So you're keeping your field presence
Yes.
while pushing things through, which works very well against Master Mold teams in general.
Because it clears out the tokens.
It does, yeah. It kills tokens on their end and they don't come back. Whereas I think, so for example, in my last match with Laurier, I think there was an instance where I attacked with anti-monitor and 5 sidekicks.
Yeah.
I KO'd all 5 sidekicks, KOing all his field, his psychics and his tokens. Anti-monitor went through and my psychics came back. Next turn for them to block his tokens, obviously.
Yeah, because so presumably if you use that trick to KO a Master Mold, it will produce a token that would survive, presumably.
It would, yeah, and that's kind of one of the things that if people are savvy enough, they can keep Master Mold in the field. But one of the things that people are trained to do with Master Mold
is knock him out.
Is KO him as quickly as possible, right?
Yeah, totally.
Whereas that can generate 1 token, but then generally anti-monitor is level 5/5 on level 1, so they have to block the anti-monitor because it's generally the biggest thing I push through with, and it clears the token anyway. The other thing I found kind of interesting, which I don't think people realize, is I can KO anti-monitor with his own ability as well.
Right.
I need the extra one, and then I just keep him in the field that way. Although he comes back at level 1, which is mine only rolled level 1 anyway, so it didn't really matter.
This is fine. And obviously the characters that you KO, they are no longer attacking, are they, when they return to the field?
Yeah.
They just
but they do have to attack, which is an interesting kind of balance.
In the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting one, that. Yeah, that anti-monitor has been an interesting one, I think, for a while. But
yeah, definitely. I do think Invulnerability, which is one of the Secret Wars cards, has elevated it a bit, and it's very similar to the old Red Eyes Black Dragon team that used to be kicking around.
Yeah, the one that you used to play back in the day, as we say. Yeah, and Invulnerability is just a 2-cost basic action, isn't it?
It is a 2-cost. Yeah. So basically, they need Master Mold and Villainous Pact. You need Invulnerability and Anti-Monitor. So you actually need less stuff than they need, which is
Yeah, and then you're just Mr. Sinistring or one of those.
Yeah, basically using all their globals to ramp as quickly as possible.
And amass as many sidekicks as you can.
Exactly. Yeah, so then on the other hand, I had this kind of Black Panther, Hellfire Gala, Harley Quinn thing. I don't think I bought Super Rare Harley Quinn once.
This was in the same team?
This was in the Anti-Monitor team, yeah.
Yeah.
I had Harley Quinn, who obviously when you field sidekicks, they deal damage, and then she also buffs sidekicks. So the idea is to use kind of Falcon Global and Namor to kind of get lots of sidekicks in the field, reroll all their stuff with Black Panther, and then Harley Quinn buffs them, does some damage. That I don't think ever worked once in the whole games I played.
But it worked.
But yeah, I mean, one game. So in a couple of games where they kind of went heavy control, so like Wonder Woman does a good job at shutting down Anti-Monitor. Going for Black Panther was a bit helpful because he's kind of hard to stop.
Yeah.
Although the reroll isn't as useful. And then Hellfire Gala I had as a kind of backup win condition. So that was kind of a mess of a team. It didn't work cohesively, but there was enough bits in it for me to kind of counter stuff that they weren't prepared to counter the stuff that I had on that team effectively.
Yes.
Because everyone was kind of geared up to stop a Master Mold on their second team.
Yes. When you say Black Panther, presumably you're talking about the
rare, not the super rare, yeah.
The rare, yeah.
I don't have a super rare, so if you have one for trade, let me know.
Okay. Jolly good. The one that when your opponent fills a character die, you may re-roll one of their other character dice, the kind of horrible removing thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, good stuff. And what were the games you played like? I mean, just kind of briefly give us a sense of some of the things you played and any of the highlights.
Master Mold, lots and lots of Master Mold. I think every team I played, at least one of the teams, obviously, one of the teams had Master Mold on them.
Yeah.
So generally, that was a case of who could Master Mold the quickest or luckiest or whatever it came down to.
Yeah.
Although I had a few pieces on my team, especially from the new Secret Wars stuff, to kind of stop the Master Mold. I brought along the Force Block Invisible Woman Global and the Molecule Man with Deadly.
Oh,
a couple of times to kind of clear their field of tokens.
Yeah.
It worked particularly well in one game. And then I also had the Spider-Gwen.
That does 5 damage when fielded.
which I didn't use particularly, but someone used pretty well against me in one of the games. I feel like slowed me down quite a bit.
Does that keep up? I mean, it can't really keep up though, can it?
The thing is,
Spider-Gwen with
so
the
I
Master
guess
Mold.
more generally, the other problems I ran into with Master Mold, because if we're talking about kind of preparing for Dice Fight XL and preparing for further on Gen Con, Master Mold is still the big hitter, I think.
Yeah.
So there are cards, I think, from this new Secret Wars set. So Spider-Gwen, Molecule Man, the Force Block, Distraction, Wonder Woman Super Rare were kind of big things that I saw that tried to stop my Master Mold.
Yeah.
The problem with all of these things was they sort of slowed down Master Mold, but then didn't also... You spent so much energy stopping Master Mold, you then don't have a win condition of your own.
Yeah.
And Wonder Woman is brilliant. She's great. She still doesn't stop the fact that Master Mold is a 8/8 on top level and still generates a token when it gets KO'd.
Yeah.
So they're still big bodies.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the problem with everything that stops Master Mold is how do you get something else in the field. So Spider-Gwen, yeah, it can. But then you're stuck with a bunch of Spider-Gwens and you haven't bought anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. So everyone had a Master Mold team, basically, did they? And then they had AN other
Yes, exactly.
kind of
and
less good
the
team.
The other team was, how can I stop Master Mold? Here's all my stuff.
Really, yeah.
The one thing I didn't really see, which I would like to see, is Laurier in his second team had a Terrax Rare.
Oh, yeah.
His own anti-monitor, and the Pirate Broadcast, which I think would have been interesting kind of deterrent.
Yes. Terrax is the one when one of your character dice is KO'd, deal 4 damage to target character die.
Yeah, he said that could be particularly effective. There's a good
Super
game
removal.
between him and Nick, where he used it pretty well.
Yeah.
And then the problem with Pirate Broadcast, which is the old Blackbird global where you pay 1 and turn off a global, is your opponent can use it against you.
Yeah.
That's kind of the balancing act. So it'd be interesting to see some games where you can optimize these kind of teams and see where that lands in stopping Master Mold.
I mean, that's where Lilandra is quite an interesting one because obviously she gets your opponent to pay 2 life every time they use a global.
Yeah, so one of the great things, I suppose, before last Worlds and at Worlds, I suppose, was using Deacon as a way to stop or slow down Master Mold. And I felt that this tournament, I knew there'd be a bunch of Master Molds. I felt like Deacon, once you know how to play him, is actually not that great at stopping Master Molds.
Yeah.
It might save you a few tokens or something, but as long as you know how to play around him, he's not that big an issue, generally. And especially when there are other factors I think that are better at stopping Master Mold, so I kind of went for the Lilandra pick. And Lilandra was brilliant for me. She saved me a bunch of games, especially when they spent so much effort shutting down Master Mold. I would just go for an early Lilandra buy, especially if they had Wonder Woman and they bought that before I could get to my Master Mold.
Yeah.
Because they end up spending so much energy saving for distraction of me forcing Wonder Woman to attack or saving Mr. Sinister so they can keep their bag clean.
Yeah. Yeah. Duquesne is great, obviously, in terms of stopping the big one turn, sort of turn 4 win or whatever, isn't it? When they use Villainous Pact or whatever just to kind of march through your entire field.
But I think, as has always been the case with this game, the mid-range is generally what is most consistent and best. Like those one-turn, big, punchy Barry Allen teams, Master Mold teams were great while we didn't have distraction.
Yeah.
But now the fact that we have distraction back, the mid-range teams are going to be back again, I think.
Was anybody playing the Gladiator Global? Obviously, that means that you pay a fist and your characters can't be affected by globals, which obviously turns off distraction and things like that.
But there weren't much use against me because I didn't run distraction.
No.
So I never sure. That's one of the things I thought about. Maybe I would change on my team is take out the Spider-Gwen for the Gladiator with Intimidate. One, because it has that global, which is great for getting around distraction. But 2, the Intimidate gets around Wonder Woman.
Sorry, I realised that I've completely missed a trick. I should have said, use the Gladiator Global. Sorry. I'm slipping. Seriously,
It'd be interesting. I mean, don't forget the Hawkman also has that global.
Orc-Man. Oh,
It
yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
sing quite so well, though, does it?
No.
Oh, man.
He doesn't have Intimidate as well. Intimidate is a very, very nice piece of tech.
It certainly is,
which
yeah,
we're
because it's
missing.
pretty unstoppable, isn't it, that?
One interesting thing I think in general is that the Dana team was very solid in that it had the Slingers Force Attack, the Villainous Pact Global. I think the fact that those two globals are now on character pieces as well
Yeah.
is interesting and manipulative, I suppose. So I saw people with running, like, they dropped Slingers out of their team for a Force Attack on a character card.
Yeah.
You get another action piece of removal or some kind of, it would be nice to have a win condition on my action cards at some point.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an interesting team building thing for Dice Fight XL, I think.
For sure, yeah. James, you were wondering about Thor, weren't you?
Yes, I like Thor. I've been playing with Jason, and Jason is a great player, but he doesn't really like playing. Well, he certainly doesn't like playing Master Mold. He's not really like sort of mainstream garbage on the whole. So I keep beating him with my Thor, but I don't feel like it's really a fair fight. And so I'm really sorry, Jason. And I'm curious to know how that Thor would fare against, Master Mold and the more mainstream garbage that Jason refuses to play, to his everlasting credit.
Ben, did you see any Thor? Super rare Thor?
I think I don't think I saw any purchases of Thor. I think I still played against Thor where we used the global. I think I used the global once to buy a Hellfire Gala.
Right.
Possibly. But yeah, no, I don't think it was ever on the field in an impactful, meaningful way. I think it's... Yeah, Thor I think is still a good option. That could be... I think it's either that or Colossus to kind of back up those those control pieces that I was kind of talking about with Distraction and Wonder Woman and Spider-Gwen.
Yeah.
Could be options.
Did you see anything particularly new or unusual, or was everybody going at it hard and there wasn't much in the way of kind of innovation, just old-fashioned red action?
I won with Hellfire Gala.
You pulled that off.
I know, yeah. Hellfire Gala and Poison Ivy, the 2-cost common, which kind of generates a token.
Plant tokens,
or fields, or it gets character is a very useful piece to have in tandem with that. It works quite nicely.
Yeah.
Mainly because the plant tokens you create a 0 attack, 2 defense.
Right.
Which means they can block psychics.
Yeah.
And keep their psychic alive and keep yours.
Yeah.
In the field, so it's very hard for them to get rid of sidekicks, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So that was something I tried that was quite interesting. A lot of it was just who can get on Master Mold fastest, and then who can. The anti-monitor rush. It was kind of hitting heavy. Everyone trying to do their best, win the A game.
Yeah, and so you ended up. Did you end up 4-0 then, or was it 5-0? Did you play a bonus round at the end?
5-0. I had to play an extra round against Laurier. So me and Laurier were both 4-0.
Yeah.
After the final round.
And I hear that you somehow bewitched his dice in the final round.
I got a bit lucky
in order to pull off a fortunate win.
Yeah, I think all the way through, I don't think my Master Mold team lost a game.
Right.
And that's big, right? Like, if your Master Mold loses against their Master Mold...
That's fair enough, yeah.
Then maybe I lost... No. Yeah, I don't think my Master Mold team lost a game through luck. Generally, it's just like... Or me rolling game there first, I guess. I think one game I pivoted to, like I said, to the Molecule Man to kind of try and stop tokens.
Yeah.
But definitely in the last round against Laurier, because it's fresh in my mind. He whiffed, I think, his Master Mold in the first 2 turns. He rolled it, and not only whiffed it, like he rolled single shields, I think 4 times. So in the 2 rounds,
Yikes!
So it's very brutal for him. And then the last game was very close as well with Anti-Monitor. I think you'll see. I suppose he's recorded it, so hopefully he'll put that up at some point.
Oh, yeah, that'll be on the DM North YouTubes, I should imagine, or Twitch or whatever they do. I don't know. These kids these days, they got all sorts of social media
On the
going on, haven't they?
YouTubes, you can watch
On
as
the
well.
YouTubes, yeah.
His game versus Nick is very interesting as well. If you want to see the Terax, I never saw Terax in action, but his Terax
What
often that.
Laurier had a
Yeah.
Terex team, world champion Laurier.
Isn't Terax like he does 4 damage, which is not quite enough to knock out a Master Mold token?
No, but as a piece of control, he also, I think with that team, he was using the
Anti-monitor as well.
Anti-monitor to clear the field and Deathbird as well.
Okay.
So that was kind of like clearing massive amounts of the field.
Deathbird, the one that
Deals
has
damage for when you KO a character with 3 defense or higher.
Oh yeah, you deal 3 damage to your opponent. Yeah, that's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it sort of disincentivizes them from fielding anything that has a defense of 4.
Interestingly enough, he had distraction on that team, so he was distracting back his anti-monitor sometimes as well. So he's literally using it as a pure KO mechanic.
Yeah.
On top of that, you can also, one of the problems with anti-monitor is if they build up a massive field of sidekicks, they choose the characters that get KO'd.
Right.
So you have to have as many KO'd characters as well as more than them in order to get to their tokens in the first place.
Yes.
So I had 5 sidekicks and Laurier had 3 sidekicks and 2 tokens, which meant I could KO the sidekicks and he'd have to KO the tokens. If he had 5 sidekicks as well, he could just KO his 5 sidekicks and leave the tokens alone.
Yeah.
So Terax kind of thins that field as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting, cool, and it's good to see though that there's new stuff that's still.
Yeah, like I said, with I had in the Master Mold team I ran, I think there was definitely 4 different cards to the one Dana ran at Worlds because I put 4 Secret Wars cards in.
Yeah,
and then I also threw Lilander in. So
yeah,
definitely differentiation.
Yeah, it's good stuff. All right. Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, it's interesting just to kind of get a bit of an early take on the meta as we head towards Gen Con, which is what the World Championships at Gen Con in August, isn't it? It's not far away now.
It is not, and we're preparing for it, aren't we?
We are indeed. This brings us very nicely on to kind of part 2 of this little segment, doesn't it? With Dice Fight XL looming. James, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about what Dice Fight XL is if people aren't aware already?
Okay, well, Dice Fight is an online tournament. It's a weekly tournament that gets played on Thursdays. It's 9 p.m. in the UK and some other time in other places.
I've trademarked that line already.
Yes. And it's been going for a jolly long time. They are playing the 200th Dice Fight.
200th?
Wow. So that's practically 4 years of Dice Fights. I started up after
you left school.
Zach stopped playing. I'm not quite as old as I look. So I used to make videos with Zach back in the day, and then he stopped playing, and I was left without anybody to play with. So I started up an online tournament. So I had friends to play with. And in the last year, or maybe a little bit more, it's been taken over by Rick and Danny, who've been looking after it admirably.
Yes.
So thank you again, and as ever, to you two. And that's what Dice Fight is. And Dice Fight XL is, as the name might suggest, a bigger version of that. We're on to the 4th one. It's an annual thing, and it runs on Saturday. And
what Saturday? Which Saturday?
this year is the 15th of July. It's always in the summer, but it has been in August sometimes. Sometimes it's been in July, but this time it's on the 15th of July, Saturday the 15th of July. And it's XL in terms of the number of players, we hope. I mean, we haven't not too much control over that, but and it's XL in terms sometimes of the length of the thing, because if we have a lot of players, it might stretch to more rounds than the usual 3.
Yeah.
And it is traditionally, the format is just red modern. And it usually happens that we tend to be testing out new metas just because of the timing of WizKids releases in the summer. It's very often the case that something has just come out. So there was one for Dark Phoenix. There was one that was just after Superman Kryptonite Crisis. And this one, of course, is just after Secret Wars. So just as Two Team Takedown tested out that meta in one way, Dice Fight will test it out in a slightly purer way because you don't have to have your two teams. It might end up being a bit of a master mold fest, but I do believe there might be people perhaps trying some other things. But anyway, whatever, doesn't matter because it's one and done. It's unlike Two Team Takedown, which stretches out over weeks, which I find difficult to schedule. So you just have to have about 3 hours and you're good to go.
Good stuff. And so the format, just to reiterate then, is totally red all the way. It's bring your best game or prepare to face people who are bringing their best game, brackets, probably Master Mold.
It's an exploration of the new meta.
Yes.
In preparation for the forthcoming Worlds tour.
Of course, yeah. So it's a really great chance for people to try out anything new or test what they've got going on just with Worlds round the corner. What sort of 3 or 4 weeks afterwards, isn't it? So,
what date is Worlds? Do we know? I mean, I'm sure somebody knows.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Go on.
It is the Saturday of Gen Con, which is the 5th. Of August.
The 5th of August.
It's about 3 weeks then.
Yeah, exactly. 3.
Yeah. So that's going to be.
So just a plea from me, I suppose. Yeah, bring your hardest, meanest, ugliest, brutishiest. That's not right. Most brutal team.
Let's go with that.
I could do with the practice. It'd be very useful. Yeah, I'm sure. I'll be there and trying to run something for Gen Con to try and work out kinks and stuff. So yeah, it'd be brilliant if people could come whip
it's
up on
effectively
me.
a training session for Ben.
That's how he intends to use it. Because there's no...
It's going to be trading blows.
He's running. He's running up the steps in Philadelphia as we speak. Or is it are you chopping logs of wood or something? Anyway, enough Rocky references. James, there's no entry fee, is there? But equally, there's no prizes. It's a free fun.
There might be a prize.
Traditionally, there is neither one nor the other, but there is certainly no entrance fee. Can't be bothered with that. But I think, since the last time I mentioned this, everything is now everything except one thing is now on the website. It's all up there. I'll put a link in the description, but you can go to the DM United webpage and it's linked on the front page. So all of the details are there. The only thing which is not is the potential prizing because we still haven't sorted that out. But, it involves me and Ben and the rest of us going through our extra cards and sorting out a nice package. I feel like there's going to be at least something for the winner. I don't really like posting stuff. I hate the post office. I've got issues. But I think it would be nice to have at least one prize.
There'll be stuff, yeah.
Okay, good stuff. And are we all playing? I feel like
I am.
I will be. Yes.
I think we might all be in. So it could be a chance to conquer the Warriors 3 that is James, Peter, and Ben. Yeah, we'll.
You saying we're the Warriors 3 in your thought? Is that what your thing was?
No, I mean,
it's Lady Sif.
Okay.
Yeah, D'Artagnan maybe. Anyway,
you see yourself as D'Artagnan. I see.
Yeah, let's not go too far down that probably. So yeah, 15th of July, do sign up. It's on Challonge, isn't it, James? So people can sign up there, but also all the details are on the website, as you already said. So we'll put a link in the show notes. Do take part and do prepare to bring some stuff. Do you guys know what you're playing yet? Not that I'm asking you to spoil it necessarily, but just I wonder if you have an idea. James?
I seem to play nothing but Thor, so Thor, isn't it? I like Thor.
Peter?
Mine may or may not involve Master Mode.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there's any shame in that.
No, I'm doing it for Ben.
That's right.
Yeah. No, it's definitely. I don't see what. I honestly, I don't. It's going to be Master Mode and another. I think you have to have Master Mode. I think you probably need to have another way of winning.
Yeah.
So you're flexible.
Yeah.
I don't know what that other is.
No, it's interesting. Yeah, there's a killer combo to be found somewhere. Someone's going to come up with something janky. It's the Deacon of this year.
Well, I mean, that's kind of
somewhere.
yeah. When I'm thinking about like my best teams, I always think about the fact that like with the Bard team, I had Imprisoned as well.
Yeah, quite. Yeah.
And we had Hulk as well. So you had Hulk, Goliath, Bard, and Imprisoned. What a great team that was!
Oh, sick.
And then you also had like the Mimic ramp with Yuan-Ti, which could kind of win by itself.
Mm-hmm.
And then also on top of that, you had Gold Dragon.
Yeah.
The Iceman team has Danny Moonstar alongside it. Like, you always have extra. You always have that extra the two win conditions you can kind of fall back on, which aren't weak to the same thing the other one is.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it's at.
Smart to have a backup.
Yeah. Without doubt, the greatest teams always have a pivot, don't they? I mean, you have to.
The Master Mode kind of has that with Villainous Pact, and that's kind of the big problem. Villainous Pact is a very big problem. But I don't know if, it'd be interesting to see, I don't know, if there's some other space for something. Yeah. There's lots of space on that Master Mode team. You miss Sinister, Prep Global, 2 Prep Globals, and Master Mode. That's basically it, and then everything else is kind of options.
Something to KO him.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is true. Yeah, good stuff. All right, well, so 15th of July, do sign up, do come and take part. You just need a webcam and some way of getting on the internet. You should be all right. I reckon most listeners are going to have enough equipment, even if it's just a phone, just to get involved. You can do it. There's plenty of opportunity. There's plenty of guides, aren't there, out there where people show you how to set up your online streaming.
It's not going to work with a landline, though. I think Spud means a mobile. Just to be
Okay. Well, you can't phone them. You could just play over the phone. Play by email.
Tell me what you're doing.
Yeah.
When you used to phone into the telly to play computer.
Exactly. I've just rolled a Master Mode on level 3. What are the chances?
High fielding. Level 1 is better.
Yeah. Yeah, true. Yeah. All right. Well, that's good. Is there any other dice fight stuff you want to mention, James? This might catch you on the hop because you're not expecting to talk about this at this point. And there's not. Let's not. Thursday nights, 9 p.m. UK time, 10 p.m. European time, other times in other parts of the world. But do get involved with that if you can. All right, well, shall we move on to our next segment? We have been having increasing amounts of chat recently, it seems, among our little group, much to James's despair, about another game that's not Dice Masters, but has been around for considerably longer than Dice Masters have, in terms of kind of the biggest. It is the biggest, is it not? Individual kind of trading card game, even beating Pokemon. It is the kind of the granddaddy of them all. It's Magic: The Gathering, and that might be. I can see James actually. I think he's actually literally just fallen asleep. While I've been doing this,
checking his phone.
But yeah, we've been talking about it a bit only because of this whole Lord of the Rings affair that's been going on. This is the only reason we've been slightly entrapped by this whole Lord of the Rings thing. Peter, you are a resident Magic Meister. What is, just in a nutshell, what's been going on in the world of Magic: The Gathering and Lord of the Rings and this whole One Ring nonsense?
So yeah, there's a new set that is a special set because in Magic you get regular releases which are legal for Modern, and there are special releases like this one which are not legal in Modern, but they are in other formats.
Yeah.
They tend to be more expensive. This one is being particularly expensive because there is one unique, one-of-a-kind card being printed in it, the One Ring.
Obviously.
Yes, and I think there's a game store in Spain that has offered like 2 million euros for the card if someone finds it. So everyone is buying these packs to trying to get this holy grail golden ticket thing.
It's like a Willy Wonka golden ticket, isn't it?
Not only 2 million euros.
Oh,
Go
and
on.
yes, this is the kicker.
Some fabulous paella.
Beautifully said as well.
Thank you.
2 million euros plus a paella. I mean, that's going to trump anything, isn't it? I can't
I
see
think
anybody
they're flying
beating
you
that.
out to the game store is the idea, right? I think that's kind of what they're trying to do.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see. So they treat you to the paella while
And
you
mug you.
hand over your one ring.
They poison the paella and they don't pay you.
And it's a massive set, isn't it, Ben? You were saying something like there's almost like 900 cards or something in the set. It's crazy.
Well, for Dice Masters, I'm a bit of a collector of it.
I do.
And I think I'm like...
No opportunity missed to advertise the fact that you want to trade on the
Superman, Wonder
podcast.
Woman.
Yeah.
And, 4 or 5 Super Rares from Secret Wars away from having every card that's only playable
I'll
card in
pop
promos.
Ben's trade list in the show.
Yeah. So anyway, I was like, okay, I can probably try to collect some of this Lord of the Ring because some of this sort of stuff. They have it's crazy, it's ridiculous. I don't understand it all as well. It's so stupid. Anyway, in the base set, there's like 450 cards,
Right.
of which I think there's like 250 original cards. Then some of the cards have like multiple versions of them, like we do with Dice Master. You have promo versions.
Grief, yeah.
There's 3 different types of promo. There's
yikes.
ones they're in a circle, so that's like a ring art or something. There's full arts. There's arts that like create a like border thing. They put them all together and they kind of like create a pattern.
Oh,
We've
blimey.
seen Dice Master as well. And then on top of that, there's Commander set, which also has 400 something cards. There's like, and then there's
good grief.
also art cards as well. So there's like 1,000 cards you need to collect if you want everything,
Oh, my
including
days.
this one of one
This
ring.
bug is running out of mild expletives.
Including I think there's 8 or 9 different prints of the Nazgul card.
Oh,
Obviously for each one of the riders.
yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
They have, I know, it's really cool, but like, how are you going to collect all of them? They're the same damn card. There's with different art for each one of the 9. So, it's kind of crazy. So I felt a lot better about collecting Dice Masters.
Yeah.
After
It sounds
I
like it's
started looking at it.
aimed at people with big wallets. And we complain about there being 150 cards and all sorts of
8 super rares or whatever.
super rares, yeah.
The terrible thing about this new set is that there can only be one person in the world that has all the cards now.
Yeah, that's right.
I know. But on top of that, they're serialized. So, the other thing is, much we complain about WizKids. Wizards of the Coast, I've been watching, obviously, a few Magic YouTube channels kind of
Obviously.
trying to understand what's happening.
As you do. Yeah.
And they've been complaining constantly about Wizards of the Coast. I'm like, they complain about the same stuff that we complain about.
Really?
The weird release schedule, the unclear product they're releasing, the change in product they're doing, the kind of weird practices.
If I may, the main complaint is that there is too much product, though.
Yeah.
Too much.
Opposite to what we have.
That's the opposite problem.
But still this weird misleading stuff. So the one of one ring, which is the elvish foil version of the One Ring. There's like 5 different versions of the One Ring. This one of one, which is worth 2 million euros.
And a paella.
It doesn't even have the actual game text on it.
I know. Unless you can read fluent Elvish, I suppose.
No. It doesn't have the game text in Elvish.
Okay. Wow.
Wow.
Anyway, so this one card, you can only get it in certain types of boosters. There's 4 different types of booster packs.
Oh, good grief.
So you can only get it in collector's boosters. You can also only get it in collector's bundles. And there's 2 different types of collector's bundles. One which comes with a collector's booster, one which doesn't. Very, very misleading.
Oh, that doesn't sound good. I feel like we're disappearing very deep into this rabbit hole
We're not
already.
But anyway, cool. So yes, I've been playing Magic the Gathering to get back on.
But this inspired you. Basically, the point of this was this inspired you to take part in a Magic the Gathering pre-release event. I called it a draft. It's not a draft, right?
No.
You get a bunch of packs and then you build a team or something, do you? And then you play it.
Yeah, so there's several different ways of playing Magic, but the pre-release generally you get 6 packs. You open those packs up, you kind of build a deck out of that, and then play a tournament as you would like a Dice Masters tournament.
Yeah.
So it was interesting, kind of for me, because I've done one pre-release before. I think about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I can't remember the set, and I went there and had a horrible experience. Like everyone whooped up on me. I had no idea what I was doing. My deck was horrible. Everyone was kind of like, your deck sucks. Like, why did you do it? Why is this a ridiculous thing to do? Blah, blah.
Did it
Such a
remind you
lovely
of
community?
Yeah. Did it remind you of UK Games Expo, Dice Masters, UK
Remind
NAS?
me how I am in Dice Masters.
In 2015.
Yeah, you suck. Why are you doing that? Yeah. That's exactly how I am.
Why are you even here?
Why how dare you sit opposite me? Yeah. That's how people were. Anyway.
All right, so 10 years ago it was horrible.
Yeah.
Now Lord of the Rings has drawn you back.
It was interesting going there, having played in lots and lots of Dice Masters tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
And my experience with Magic was almost zero. I didn't even know about mulliganing. I had to learn that again. So mulliganing is you can refresh your starting hand. But,
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, you get 7 cards initially. Mulligan is you can basically reshuffle those 7 cards, draw a new hand of 7 cards, and put one under the deck as punishment.
Yeah, so you only have 6 at the start instead.
They had that in Keyforge.
Oh, do they?
I'm feeling on fire now. That's
Designed by which coincidentally is designed by the same person, isn't it?
Yeah, Richard Garfield.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of this meme with like Leonardo DiCaprio that he's pointing. I know this.
Or Captain America's. I understood that reference. Yeah, James has woken up. All right, so you mentioned mulligans, and
sorry, yes, no.
Hey, he's got his Captain America t-shirt on.
It was very interesting going back into playing Magic, even though I had really little idea about what all the keywords meant, and what all the terms meant, and how to play the actual game.
Yeah,
but there were so many transferable skills that I had from Dice Masters that I've generally put up a fairly good showing, particularly when it came to attacking, blocking, and knowing when to push and when not to.
Because basically, I guess for the benefit of people who have never played any Magic whatsoever and know nothing about it, basically you have a hand of cards. You use those cards to put monsters on the field, and then you have to attack your opponent and reduce their life from 20 to 0 in order to win the game. That is not too dissimilar to Dice Masters in that regard.
The combat is basically identical. In fact, you push with a certain number of characters, they can block with a certain number of characters, and then you resolve all damage simultaneously. And events trigger off that. The combat is very, very similar, and having that kind of skill, maybe. I mean, I won one game per round and one match out of 3. Sorry,
okay.
I didn't do particularly well, but I at least held my own. Interesting thinking about that kind of transferable skills of knowing how good trample is, which is overcrush in Dice Masters, and how to value that, and how to value attack stats, and when to let certain things through.
Yeah.
So
they don't go to the use pile, do they, in Magic? Though?
No, and so it's also interesting seeing so there's 2 different aspects I kind of want to talk about. One, kind of the differences between Magic and Dice Masters, and 2, kind of the other stuff around the combat steps, which are also very different. So there's 2 different kind of areas of differences, I suppose. So the one area to talk about first that you just brought up was characters you should not get attached to at all.
Yes.
Characters they will stay on the board. So when they attack, if they deal damage to your opponent, they'll just stay there.
Yeah.
Which obviously we have a use pile and we cycle stuff through. But also we have a prep area. Yeah. When you carry it to prep, which means your dice that you've bought stay with you.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time I found myself being very attached to my characters. Like I didn't want to play them at that point because I knew they'd get killed.
Oh, right.
I didn't want to attack with stuff. Because sometimes in Dice Masters, one of the best things about it, I think, sometimes it's advantageous to get your stuff killed.
Yeah.
So you have more dice to roll next turn.
Yeah.
Whereas Magic doesn't really have that in any significant way.
No.
So that's a big difference, and kind of had a lot of whiplash from the fact that I was like, okay, I can't attack with this guy because he'll just get murdered by that guy, and then I've lost that card forever, and I've just spent like 5 turns building up enough energy to put that guy out.
Yeah.
Whereas once you've bought a Master Mold or a Wonder Woman, the only way you can disappear really is by getting lost in the bag.
Yeah.
I think I like that better. And then, so the second aspect, I guess, is the game around the combat step, which in Magic amounts to you can pay 1 land, you can draw some cards, and that's about it. Whereas in Dice Masters, you always have the energy available, and you're making decisions about what goes into your deck when.
Yeah.
Whereas in Magic, you have to kind of pre-plan this, and the amount you get kind of mana screwed, I don't know what it's called, the mana, or you get just basically all you can do is draw lands, which is your energy.
Yeah.
Or you never draw energy, so you can never play your big creatures. Is very difficult to deal with as someone who's used to kind of being able to manipulate your bag.
I guess the randomness is expressed in a different way, isn't it, across the 2 different games? Obviously, the randomness in Dice Masters is the rolls. You don't really know what you're going to get. You can't really necessarily account for the fact that you might roll energy on a character 6 times in a row. But obviously, in Magic, the randomness is in the drawing of the cards from the deck. You only get to draw generally 1 card, don't you, per turn?
Yeah.
Unless you've got something else going on.
But one of the things I think is really clever about Dice Masters is the action cards. The fact that action cards are always generic energy means you almost always have something you can do on your turn.
Yeah.
Whereas in Magic games, I found myself being like, I don't have anything to play because I've drawn 5 lands 5 turns in a row.
Yeah.
Now that comes back to you didn't build your deck correctly enough at the start of the game. Before the game even started, your deck wasn't constructed well enough. But in Dice
there's no
Masters,
improvising in Magic.
Well, in Dice Masters, the flexibility of improvising is much greater, which I think is a very interesting point for the game. And I always thought about it kind of like Dice Masters seems to be a game for people who are good at board games, whereas Magic seems to be a game for people who are good at video games.
Interesting. Peter,
maybe people who enjoy video games versus people who enjoy board games.
I mean, I enjoy both, so...
Yeah,
that's why you like Dice Masters and Magic.
Yeah, exactly. That explains it. I mean, it is interesting that obviously in Dice Masters you have got considerable more flexibility generally in terms of what you can do, isn't it? Obviously, with Magic you're fairly limited to what you can draw, whereas you can deploy your resources in Dice Masters a lot more in a varied way. I suppose one of the other things that is quite similar though is just the question of kind of board state, Peter. Maybe you could talk a bit about this, just in between Dice Masters and Magic in terms of how the 2 things kind of interact across the 2 different games.
I think as Ben mentioned, one of the main things is if you block with something and it dies, it doesn't come back. So of course you can jump block, but you're not going to last very long with that because your stuff is not going to come back. So you need to play new stuff, and if they just keep hitting you with like big stats, there's no coming back from that unless you can remove it. So the removal spells are super important because it's much trickier to just throw a bunch of stuff in front of something to kill it and then having a chance of getting it back anyway, because you won't be getting it back most of the time. So there's a very different dynamic there with blocking because the price you pay is much higher.
I mean, my sense is, James, I'll come to you, don't worry, is there's a bit of trading. There's obviously a fair amount of trading that goes on in terms of, I'll attack with this and I'll block with this and they'll both kill each other and they'll both be gone from the board, but you're less likely to throw something in front of something else if it's only just going to die and not kill the other thing. Yeah,
but sometimes it's all you can do to stop yourself from dying.
Yeah,
but the loss is much bigger.
James?
If you attack with something and it does damage, if it goes unblocked, does it stay or does it go away?
Yeah, it stays. So
So that's a big difference then, right?
that's a very big difference.
The other thing is when you attack with something, you have to tap it, so you can't then use it as a blocker. Next turn as well. So if you commit something big to attack, like a lot of the way you get damage through is like, I'll let that big thing through. It'll be tapped. The next turn I can attack with my big thing. But then it's considering that versus, I could block with my 5/5 creature to kill their 5/5 creature, or we could trade 5 damage each back and forth. And what's worthwhile there?
It has got a lot of the similar kind of considerations, hasn't it, in terms of blocking, though, hasn't it? Because obviously, as you said, Ben, the sort of blocking and attacking works in a very similar way to Dice Masters. Yeah,
so a couple of people I played, I said to them, I haven't played Magic for like 10 years. And they're like, oh, okay. So then I think a lot of players kind of were like, oh, he's not going to block this. Or he will block this, he'll chump block this. And I'll be like, oh, no, I'll take that. Leaving my characters to, because that's a Dice Master thing to do.
Yes.
Take damage, use life as a resource.
Yes.
And they were like, oh, I didn't expect you to do that.
Right.
That's quite an advanced thing to do, actually taking life as your resource.
Yeah.
So it's interesting anyway, it's going back to a pre-release event with kind of the knowledge I have of Dice Masters.
Yeah, well, when they start bringing superheroes into Magic, then maybe James will start getting excited.
I quite like the dice. No. I mean, this discussion has been infinitely more interesting than the previous ones I've witnessed.
The thing is, I don't think it's
still not doing it for me.
It's a very, 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 very simple game though compared to Dice Masters. The complexity I think in Magic the Gathering is in the deck construction, much more so than in Dice Masters. Dice Masters, yes. There's some subtlety to kind of the 10 cards you bring. You kind of want to bring a balance of stuff. But sometimes you can just literally throw 10 cards out there but don't have any connections and be like... like, I won a bunch of games in this tournament with anti-monitor and invulnerability and ignored the rest of the cards completely.
Yeah.
So as long as you know kind of what you're doing, there's a lot...
Do you shuffle your cards in Magic? I assume you do.
Yes.
You don't put them in an order. Okay.
No. So
it must be pretty random. How big's the deck?
It depends on the format.
Approximately.
In the pre-release, there's 40 cards, but in Commander, which I think is the most popular way to play now, is 100 cards.
That's quite some random.
Yeah, and it gets extra random because you only get to use one copy of each card in Commander.
Singleton.
Yeah,
format,
it's Singleton indeed. Yeah,
okay.
so there are a lot of cards that have similar abilities though, so you can build something fairly consistent most of the time. But in a regular Magic deck, you can have up to 4 of most cards.
But generally, you only draw 1 card per turn, don't you? That's just what you do at the start of your turn. You draw
1 mana per turn as well.
And then you play 1 land. Yeah. So if you got you get a deck of 100 cards, you're probably going to see about 20 of them on you in a game.
Does it go backwards and forwards quite quickly at the beginning? Like,
Usually your first turn is like play a land, pass. But in Commander, you'll play lots of draw cards and ramp cards. Otherwise, you're just going to sit there and get your ass kicked.
Like, there were games in the pre-release I played where I had... So it's recommended you play with 17 lands. So I had 16 or 17 lands. So in one game, I drew 7 lands and no character. I drew 7 turns of me just drawing lands and nothing else.
Oh, no.
So I lost. I just drew a land, put it down on the field.
Yeah.
Nothing I can do.
That's exactly what would happen to me.
Yeah. I was just like, okay, this is not fun. And then another game I played was like, I never drew any lands. So I had all these cool characters. I couldn't play them.
Ben, I think one thing you need to practice, shuffling.
Shuffling.
Is knowing when to mulligan is very important in Magic.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Don't keep crappy hands hoping you'll draw what you need.
No, but
make sure you have something that does something in your hands at the start of the game, so you can at least have a start.
Yeah,
I've played many games just starting with 1 land, and if I only draw 1 more, I'll can play this and that, and then and then you don't draw it, and you're just sitting there.
Yeah, exactly.
How many's in the hand? How many's in your hand?
7 cards in your starting hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, you have to mulligan
This
two,
reminds me. Sorry, Ben. I was just going to say, it reminds me of Keyforge quite a lot, which is not a coincidence, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, funny that. Good. All right. Well, there's some interesting insights for what we can learn.
Mention a couple of things that I think Dice Masters could do with.
Go on.
So, first thing, there's Saga cards. I don't know if it's outside of the I assume it's outside of the Magic, the Lord of the Rings set.
Yeah.
The Saga cards are basically these cards that come into play. They sit on the field, and at the start of your turn, you kind of move this token down.
They do something different each turn. Right, yeah, got it.
I can't think of any Dice Master card that kind of sits there and changes over time. I think that'd be
yeah.
I think
so it gives you a bit of a framework for things to do on a turn, do you mean? Or it just does something different that helps you each time?
So for example, there's one of the cards I pulled, which was kind of cool. I'm just trying to find the actual thing. It's called There and Back Again. So it sits on your field for 3 turns, effectively. And at the end of the 3 turns, you get to get Smaug in the field.
Ooh.
So it builds up. You get like a crappy ability, then a moderately good ability, and then on the 3rd turn, you get this big dragon on the field.
Wow.
Who's 6/6 character. And that kind of, I think that'd be a really cool thing to have in Dice Masters.
It would, but can I just point out that he's dead by the time he gets to the Lord of the Rings?
He is, but he's still a cool dragon.
He shouldn't be in Lord of the Rings. If it's Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, then fair enough. But anyway.
Well, it does have a lot of, it does have a Tom Bombadil, well, he's in Lord of the Rings.
He is.
It does have a Bilbo Baggins who isn't like 1 million years old.
You haven't aged a day.
But I think there's some really cool. There's some cool thematic stuff in there, and I really like that ability, the Saga ability. I think it'd be cool to maybe get a dice, you put it in the field, and every turn it kind of counts up or something to something else.
That sounds like an idea they could fairly easily sort of incorporate in Dice Masters, couldn't it?
Yeah, you could have a dice that kind of you put it in the field and then you kind of flip it to a different face every turn or whatever it is.
A plant token that grows every turn. If you water it, you spend an energy, it grows to the next stage.
I really like that ability. I think that would be a very cool thing that they should put in.
Yeah, indeed, yeah.
Magic. What
was the other thing you wanted to say?
No, nothing. I can talk about some of the cool thematic cards. I played a game.
You could. I think you should save that though for the spin-off.
Could I have one
spin-off Magic the Gathering podcast with Peter and Ben?
I was saying I had a card called the Fires of Mount Doom, and what the Fires of Mount Doom does, it lets you flip the top card of your deck over, and you exile it, so you discard it from the game. Yeah. And then for that one turn, you can summon it, and if you do, it goes straight into your field. So I exiled a card from the top of my deck and ended up being Sauron.
Oh.
And I could not field it. So the Fires of Mount Doom in the game basically destroyed Sauron, and he was gone forever. Which is kind of funny.
That was the short version of the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's basically if the king at the beginning had done what he should have done, it would have saved everyone the problem. Yeah.
Isildur, throw the fire.
Isildur, that's it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No.
Okay. Yeah, all right. I'll do that. That sounds like a really good idea. It'll save the hobbits a lot of trouble. All right. Well, that's good. So, well, Peter and Ben, if you're gonna work up to your spin-off podcast series, Magic Magic Masters or something, I don't know, but then we'll look forward to that series in due course. All right. Well, shall we move on to our little bit of AOB? Okay, well, you might have noticed that this episode has come to you yet again somewhat tardy. We have been not very good at keeping to our usual programming, and we haven't always been getting together to record our podcast when we should have. So we just wanted to give you a bit of an update really on what our plans were sort of going forward. And what we're planning is we're moving to a more relaxed, kind of fluid schedule where we're probably going to aim to do a podcast once a month rather than every fortnight, but then plug the gaps in between with some other kind of content. James, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the things that we might do in there?
Have yet to develop.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I will say, though, to be fair, when we restarted, we had a bit of a break. We've been a bit sporadic recently, but because we had a bit of a break, and then we started season 2, and we had an episode every bloody week because we were doing the reviews, and I think that was a good thing to do because nobody wants to wait, how long, 2-3 months to hear the entire set reviewed. They want it done, and we did do that, and then we went back to we fell back to the once every 2 weeks, as you said, but yes, that I think we could do with a little bit of a rest, as you say, and in the meantime, we might have some video chats and some more gameplay stuff, I think. And I'm going to go back and I have a list somewhere on my phone of things that I should make videos about. I still haven't done the top 5 super rares. Sorry, anybody's waiting for that. And I remember we had a competition ages ago on the YouTube channel, asking people for stuff. So I'm going to go and have a look at the replies, because people had to post a comment about what they'd like to see on the channel. So I'm going to go back and look at that. And I think we might have another competition as well. That's another thing. So hopefully I'm going to have a bit of time in the summer. And so I'll try to rejuvenate the YouTube channel a bit while we take it easy with the podcasts. And we'll, when things kick off again, we can kick up the scheduling.
Yeah,
Indeed,
we like to spend some more time playing
games. Yes, playing games. Exactly.
So we can have stuff to talk about when we do the podcast.
Yeah, precisely. And as James alluded to there, when the releases come round again, we'll ramp things up when it comes to doing the card reviews. Those are always our most popular episodes, it seems, in terms of going through each of the cards in the new set. So we won't make you wait a month in between each installment. Otherwise, we might even struggle to keep up with WizKids at that rate. I'm not sure, but we might. So that's kind of us for the foreseeable future. You might hear from us a bit less over the coming weeks and months, but we're still going to be bringing you lots of Dice Masters content, lots of exclusive stuff, Dice Masters chat and so on, not just through the podcast, but also through our YouTube. Obviously, we can put a link to that in the show notes, and it's obviously on our website, jamesdmunited.eu, is it not?
That's correct, Bug.
Yeah. Good stuff. And while we're on the subject of our website, don't forget that you can write to us if there's anything that you want to get off your chest, if there's anything that you want to tell us about the similarities between Magic and Dice Masters. James would be delighted to have more of that premium level content. If you want to tell us what you're going to be playing at Dice Fight XL, Ben would be very pleased to hear anything along those lines. James, what's the address to use?
The email address is hello@dmunited.eu. There is also a contact page on the website, and I just wanted to mention that I turned off commenting on most of maybe all of the website pages, because I was starting to get horrible spam. Just awful spam. So yes, so I'm sorry you can't comment on the pages anymore, but not many people were actually doing that. So just write to us instead.
Except on the Dice Match page, weren't they? There was lots of comments on the Dice Match page last time I looked.
There were a few nice compliments there. I think Facebook is probably a better medium for that sort of backwards and forwards. I think the web page is more of a sort of static thing. So that's how it is, anyway.
Good stuff. Okay, well, I think that's us for this particular episode. It's been really good to have your company. Don't forget that you can like, rate, and review using your favorite podcast app. And if you subscribe, then you'll be the first to know about a new episode when it drops. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you again next time. Goodbye.
But I don't want any old squirrel. I want a trained squirrel.
What?
Okay. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.